What's going on, everybody? It's the Reformation Keegan, and I'm here with another video today. Today, we're doing a mental health vlog. So, this is going to be episode 3. It's going to be a mental health analysis. I'm going to try and keep the video a bit short, nothing too long, because we all have lives that we're living. So, I want to keep it quite concise yet informative. And we're going to stick with the theme of Edward Said in his book At a Place, because I find that this book is extremely telling when it's discussing mental health and themes of displacement and interpersonal exile. So, I want to read you a bit of a quote, and then I want to analyze it a bit from a few different vantage points and see what you think. So, starts on chapter 9, which is page 214, and the quote is actually officially on page 215. So, and I quote, "A month after I was diagnosed, I discovered myself in the middle of a letter I was writing my mother, who had been dead for a year and a half. Ever since I left Cairo in 1951, it was a habit we had kept up. Somehow the urge to communicate with her overcame the factual reality of her death, which in mid-sentence stopped my fanciful urge, leaving me slightly disoriented, even embarrassed. A vague narrative impulse seemed to be stirring inside me, but I was too caught up in the anxieties and nervousness in my life with CLL to pay it much notice." So there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of moving parts. I find that writing is often a very therapeutic way of dealing with grief and dealing with sorrow. But one of the other things writing can do is establish structure. Even if you're not journaling, if you're writing to someone else, that can be a consistent trend that keeps occurring throughout your life. And when that systematic process is disrupted, there is a sense of tension within one's own mind. So, for instance, if I'm writing letters to my mother constantly, and then all of a sudden she passes, that can do two things. It can either make me stop writing those letters, or I can keep writing them in a journalistic format, which would be, again, interpersonal to me. And I think with that, you can look at it in a way that it's somebody dealing with their grief, but it's also something that is bigger than grief. It's maintaining a structure, because as human beings, we often thrive off of structure, which helps ease our tensions and helps us keep moving, both physically and mentally. So again, I think with Said, he was already getting diagnosed with leukemia, so he's dealing with his own despondency over the illness while still going through grief. And in this case, he's already dealing with grief and dealing with anxiety. And when you combine those two together, your format, for lack of a better term, is almost dilapidated. And when you lose that format and that platform that you have, what ends up happening is you end up getting off of your schedule. You end up not maintaining that structure, and when you don't maintain that structure, that's when depression really creeps in, because a lot of people who suffer from depression, they actually have a rigid, strict format, and they keep that format because they think if they lose that format, then depression is going to take over, and that depression is going to mean that they have no more structure, which is going to lead to them being inactive, maybe not eating, maybe eating too much, and not participating in their daily activities that they usually participate in. So for me, I work out every morning, and I do that because it's a form of structure for me. I do it because if I wake up in the morning and I have that feeling inside my stomach where there's a pit, and it makes me anxious and it contributes to my depression that I already have that's pre-existing, I'm going to feel even worse if I don't go and get some sort of physical activity. And for Said, he went through pretty much the same thing, except he alleviated his tensions through writing. I do mine through writing, but I also do mine through working out. So after something big happens and it really affects me, I still keep working out because there's this phrase that the show must go on. And for me, even if something bad happens, my life has to go on. I have to keep evolving, keep reforming, and keep moving forward. And I think that's what Saeed's doing here, even after his own diagnosis, is he's still speaking to his mother, who is a very, very big part of his life and one of his very few supporters that he had in his early life in Cairo. And on top of that, when you lose somebody very close to you, it's going to take your format away one way or another, but you have to keep on moving past that. You have to keep moving on from that format and maybe establish new formats that are going to hopefully help alleviate some of those feelings. Like for me, when my mom was diagnosed with bladder cancer and I didn't know about it for quite a long time, I remember the first few days that I got up and I had that pit in my stomach here where it's like sleeping alleviated the pain, but then when I got up, that pain hit me again. And that's one of the worst feelings to have. It's like you're sunk at the bottom of an ocean and you can't get out. And I think for Saeed, that's what happened when he lost his mother and then he got diagnosed with leukemia. So it's a really tough process, but I do find that writing is a really good way to help express those emotions, even if you just keep it to yourself. And also some physical activity will help with that too. Like for me, working out and getting a good sweat in, that really helps. So again, this is from Edward Said's Out of Place. And I think this is a book that I think everybody should read. Even if you're not looking at it from a post-colonial lens, I think this is a really good book just to learn about mental health and to learn about life itself. So again, I highly recommend it. And I'm looking at the sentence one more time, or the paragraph, because I think it's very revealing. And even, and he even mentions like communication. And I think communication's a big thing too with grief and despondency, because we often will shelter ourselves. And I feel like for Saeed, writing is a way to get out of that shelter. So like if we're all enclosed, writing helps him come out a bit more. And I think that's why he wrote this book. Obviously, he wrote it because he wanted people to have a recounting of the life he lived before he passed away. But I do feel like writing is a strong way to communicate these feelings. And I think that he does it here very poignantly, albeit beautifully. Also, don't forget to like, share, and comment, subscribe, because we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers and 3,000 watch hours. So if you can help contribute in any of those ways, I greatly appreciate it. And I'll be back with more soon.